You know, in terms of writing, I never think of my stuff as controversial. Other people call it that, but I think of it as real world. I write realistic fiction, and in writing realistic fiction, I try to represent all the people and as many people as I can get in the world who are walking through the world onto the pages. And so I remember when I wrote If You Come Softly, which is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, and I tried to make a present day story about Romeo and Juliet, and it's about an interracial relationship between a middle class African American boy and a middle class white Jewish girl. And it got challenged. And it got challenged because of the interracial relationship. You know, and this is what, 30 years, 40 years after miscegenation laws have been taken out of the world. And I'm also really careful in how I qualify. One thing I grew up with was literature where I'd read it and say, well, a boy walked down the street, and then a girl walked down the street, and then a black boy walked down the street. And I thought, okay, so I just assume whiteness unless otherwise stated. And I never do that. And when I was teaching, I never let my students do that. If you qualify the race of one, qualify the race of the other, so that the reader doesn't feel like I'm on the outside of this because I'm that black boy reading this story, or I'm that white boy reading this story. And that kind of stuff is really important and urgent to me. But I think a lot of times the stuff that people are uncomfortable with is stuff they're uncomfortable with, and they're going to continue to be uncomfortable with. And I think it's part of the reason I write for young adults, because they're not. They're just figuring it all out, and they're open, and they're brilliant. And they're going to change the world. So that's where I began.